Hello everyone. If you're watching this video, that means that our first paper assignment is now available. So this is a video not to describe the entire assignment. The assignment itself has a description of what the paper should be. Uh, I'm doing this video just to make sure certain aspects of the assignment are quite clear. So first, the assignment is available. So you should be able to find it under your list of assignments or under Module 2 in Canvas. So either way should work. That will take you to a description of what the paper is going to be about, how it should be organized, what the topics are, what the expectations are for format. So there's a description of the paper in the assignment. And this paper will be about an individual drug. And so you'll need to cover that from a variety of perspectives. And those perspectives are listed in the assignment. I'll go over them briefly here. But that's the idea, is that the assignment is there in Canvas. You can look over the details. There are formatting expectations, so be sure to pay attention to those. There's also a rubric that will help further specify my expectations and how the paper will be graded, how much each component of the paper is worth, what a good, acceptable, and not so good paper would look like in terms of those expectations. So you can see that under the assignment as well. And there are a number of topics that I've posted, a number of individual drugs. Now, what you'll see is that the list is not a complete list of all the drugs that we cover in this course. I have intentionally left some off. So, for example, marijuana, tobacco, alcohol, each of these get their own week in the course. And so they also have their own chapter in your textbook. So they're fairly well covered. And so those are not available topics because we talk about them so much in this course. But for drugs that are covered less or not at all, those are available topics. And if you think of a drug that you would like to write about for your paper, run it by me. If it's not on the list and you'd like to write about it, just send me an email, say what topic you would like, and if it's not covered heavily in the book, odds are I will approve it. But do check with me first. Whichever drug you choose, there are a number of perspectives you'll need to cover that drug from. So historical perspectives, trends in usage, regulation. So these are all things you'll need to talk about when you're discussing the drug in your paper. And this paper is worth 20% of your final grade, so it's quite a bit. So it's worth working on early. So that's the overview of what the paper will be about. Again, you can check the assignment itself for length requirements, for formatting. I'll talk a little more about formatting here in a minute. Citing research. So one of the expectations for this paper is that you cite at least 4 sources. So you will need a bibliography or a works cited page, and you will need to cite 4 sources at the very least to get full credit. One of those sources can be your textbook, but it can be only one of your sources. And when you cite a source, be sure to actually use it. So if it shows up in your works cited page, the contents of that work better be reflected in your paper. So don't pad your reference list with citations that you don't actually use. I can tell when you do that, don't do it. And these topics are rich enough that you should be able to find plenty of things to cite, of research to look at and to refer to in your paper. So the works cited should be the list of the references you use, and be sure to actually use them. At least 2 of those sources have to be scientific articles. So articles from a scientific journal. And if you haven't read science journal articles before, that may be a bit intimidating in terms of what constitutes a scientific journal article or not. I've included some guidelines, some rules of thumb in the assignment that'll help you tell if something is a scientific article or not. It'll appear in a scientific journal. It will have authors, usually multiple authors, but not always. It will reference other works. They will have their own works cited page or bibliography. It will present some kind of data. And it will be a reasonable length paper. It is not a quick website. If what you're looking at is only a couple hundred words, that is not a scientific article. So again, the description of the paper itself, the assignment has some guidelines. If you're still not sure whether something is a scientific journal article, just send it to me, and I'll take a look and tell you whether it counts or not. When you are citing your work in your paper, there are two ways to refer to another source. One is a direct quotation. So I'll show you an example here. This is when you are literally using the words that someone else wrote. So if you're doing that, you put it in quotation marks. You put the citation at the end of the quotation, as I've done here. And that indicates to the reader, to me, that you didn't write these words, that these come directly from this other source. So if you are using someone else's words, be sure to put it in quotes, be sure to put the citation properly. The other way to refer to work is through what's called a paraphrase. And that's when you just summarize. It's not the other author's words, it's your words, but you're referring to their ideas or their findings. So you don't have to directly quote their exact words. You can use your words, but still, if it's not your idea or if it's not your results, you need to cite that as well. So here you don't use quotation marks. In fact, you shouldn't. But you still put that citation at the end. So again, that citation should show up in your works cited list. It should also show up after whatever it is you're citing, whether it's a paraphrase or a direct quotation. Also, don't mosaic quote, which is where you substitute every few words. It's mostly another person's work, and then you just sub in a word every so often. Don't do that. The citations should be in APA format. So you can look that up online, see what that formatting is like. When you do that, one of the easy things to do is just go to Google Scholar, put in the work you're citing, say cite, look up the APA format, but that's not perfect. You still need to check it. So Google Scholar doesn't always shoot out the right formatting. It's usually pretty close. It's usually pretty good, but not always, so you have to check it. So you can look online to see what APA formatting looks like. So I've set aside this slide here just to point out how important properly citing your research is. So again, don't put things in your reference list that you don't use in your paper, but also don't put things in your paper that aren't in your works cited list. So if you're using someone else's words and you don't properly cite them, that's plagiarism. And plagiarism is something I take very seriously. I'm not lenient about it. And so I do run these assignments through a plagiarism checker. So if it's not your words and it's not properly cited, that's plagiarism, and the penalty for that, depending on how bad the offense is, could be anywhere from being marked down on this particular paper to failure of the course. So don't do it. It's not worth the time you save. Just write your paper in your own words, properly reference the works that you use in your paper, and you'll be fine. Also, this is a relatively short paper, so you shouldn't need to depend on really long quotes. Don't do that either. The vast majority of the paper should be in your own words. Anyway, so that is the assignment, a word on how you cite research. But again, most of the assignment can be found in that assignment section. So you can look it up, look at the description of the paper. If you have questions, email me or post them to the class discussion board. And good luck on the assignment.